Greetings, my human friends. This is Rudolf of Germany, the tall white alien. Today's lecture will be about money, and I try for the very first time in your life probably explain to you what money really is. Is it made of paper or is it made of metal? And what is the difference between both of them? Often, so-called experts in the field of banking and economics give lectures about money, and often also about how credit is being created of thin air by the banks, which is called zero money, zero currency. When you go, for example, to apply for a loan, credit, and you are deemed to be credit worthy, then the bank will give you a so-called zero money in form of a few digits being placed on your bank account. And many of you know already this money is just being typed in, and there is no substance of any kind behind it, be it in form of a paper, a promissory note, or be it of gold or silver. And this is what many of the so-called experts in the fields of economics and banking complain about. Money being made of thin air, and there is no dollar bill behind it. But in order to understand money and currency as it really is, they should have understood the principle behind it, which is even for most experts an unknown secret. If, when you go to the bank and the banker gives you a loan and they put a few digits of money, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 or 1,000,000 onto your bank account out of thin air, or if they give you a sack of dollar notes, is not important at all, because both that what is in a digital form on your bank account, which is being just typed in out of thin air, or even a paper note like this one, have basically the same intrinsic value, zero. What is really the value of a promise? And that is what it comes down to. Whatever the banker types into your bank account, let's say $10,000, is nothing but the belief of the banker in your working power and your expertise to mind energy, labor energy, and produce something. So through that energy, which he believes is worth 10,000, you eventually, over a number of years, pay these 10,000 back, including interest, by harvesting money from other people and give that back to the banker. Naturally, the harvested money which you get from other people, let's say you baking a bread as a baker, this money itself is also nothing but the promise of future gains. So in other words, the money which is being created out of thin air by your bank and deposited as a few digits in your bank accounts is nothing else but the belief of the banking system in your ability to create something. And that is the credit. The credit which is given into the trust which is given into you by the banker. And the same holds for $1 note, which is nothing but a piece of paper stating that there, which you hold in your hand, that's what you hold in your hand, is a promissory note of future gains and future labor being submitted to the holder of the note. And that is the whole idea behind currency. Currency is a flow of credit and nothing else. The paper which you hold in your hand is just a promise of some goods being delivered at a later point of time. And these goods which supposed to be delivered usually are nothing but the labor of somebody who was holding this note in his hand before. In the moment he transferred it to you, there you take over the credit which he has given others. This is how currency is being created. It is always looking into the future and hoping that somebody else in the future will finally deliver a valuable, tangible good. And this good being delivered at a certain date in the future has a real value. Until that day, you have either digits in your bank account, or you have a piece of paper in your hand which promises it. The government lends money and becomes digits in their bank account or paper by promising the issuing banks that one day the labor force of the entire country is capable of paying back debt what the government, the politicians, have borrowed. And this is all to money in the form as you hold it in your hand. There's only one difference. This is currency, and money is nothing but gold and silver. Because gold and silver is a totally different concept to that what I just explained to you before, which is a promissory note of something to be delivered in the future. Gold and silver is coming only into existence if the labor and that what was promised has already been fulfilled. In order to hold a piece of gold in your hand, somebody has worked already, mined already the gold, refined the gold, and was making a coin out of it. So, gold, real money or silver, is not a promissory note as currency, but is already a delivered product. And that is the difference which nobody really has explained to you so far, because most economists really don't understand the concept themselves. Gold and silver are hard to mine minerals. And these kind of goods are already existing from labor done before, while promissory notes or digits in your bank account are nothing but credit in the hope to be paid back in the future. And governments go deeper and deeper into debts that way because they're getting these promissory notes because they know exactly they will never be paid back in the future, and they're trying to hold up as much as they can on their interest payments. And this way a bubble of credit is being built, and the interests of the interest payments are being tried to hold up, and all of the government work is a Ponzi scheme which tries to postpone payment and eventually getting goods in the future until their reign of governmental responsibility is over, and they shift the responsibility to the next administration. A person who knows that will always try to get rid of these kind of promissory notes, which state nothing else than that one time in the future somebody will deliver something for it, and try to use these notes to buy real goods, gold, silver, land, or even shares of companies which already have plenty of land, buildings, and machinery which can be always being exchanged for something else. So besides gold and silver, if you hold land or even some stock in a very solid company which brings some good dividends, then you have something real in your hand. But money, as what is called money, which is a currency, is nothing but credit. Credit you give or credit you receive. And this circle of vicious credit bubbles which are existing are always coming eventually to an end when people realize there is more credit given for goods delivered in the future than they really can be eventually delivered. This is the nature of credit. Credit built up on credit and again built up on credit until this volume of credit gets so big that everybody gives up hope for a repayment in the future. That is what usually is called money. But the real money is only the money which already has been earned. People worked for it, and that here is a result. For example, gold is the result of the work, of the labor of people. And if you hold this in your hand, that will be the end result of all the work of many, many people. While this here is not the result of work, but this is the promise that something will be paid back in the future. In the old days, it was backed by gold because people, when they gave out these dollar notes, said, this dollar, one day you bring to the bank and you get this gold already mined and already a labor accomplished good for it. But then they took the gold away and they only kept promising something which nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what can be eventually be delivered for this piece of paper or the digits in your bank account. Until everybody forgot about it and took the note, the promise itself, as a valuable asset. But promises never have been valuable until they are fulfilled. And that is exactly the problem with modern paper or digit currency. Just a promise which is not fulfilled and nobody knows what it could be fulfilled with. Rudolf of Germany.